The film begins by showing a man, Ben. Ben does not live alone in his minivan, but is always accompanied by his girlfriend, Lena. Unfortunately, Lena can no longer accompany Ben because she must go to the city to complete her education. Therefore, Ben gave his girlfriend a weapon as a form of protection from the harsh realities of city life. He even told Lena that she should always prepare the weapon before going to bed and at bedtime. Long story short, Lena has gone to town and Ben has to do all his activities alone. However, Ben is not completely unemployed, as he works as a professional guide for hunters in the area. Moreover, one of his acquaintances, the sheriff, informed him that a billionaire wanted to hunt and required Ben's services. The man's name was Maddock, and he was prepared to pay Ben $1,000 a day. How could you resist? Ben himself admits he has never been paid so much in one day. In addition, Maddock has also prepared his own vehicle, a Mercedes-Benz G363 car worth $500,000. He uses a Steyr Scout .308, which is not a weapon commonly used by hunters. Without further ado, Ben and Maddock immediately went to the desert. The location they arrived at was the best spot for hunters who usually spent their free time there. Maddock was actually looking for a desert sheep that couldn't be found anywhere else. When they arrived at the stopping point, they built a bonfire while chatting casually before starting the hunt that Maddock had been eagerly awaiting. The next morning, Maddock, who was excited, got up first and offered Ben a cup of coffee. Then they walked to the rocky hill, which is usually inhabited by desert sheep. However, during the trip, Maddock made Ben feel uneasy when he began firing his rifle at random. After seeing this, Ben assumed that Maddock was an amateur hunter who did not understand the rules of the area. Sure enough, when asked for a hunting license, Maddock instead offered Ben some money as a bribe for his silence. This sum of money did not include the daily payment Maddock had already promised. Ben couldn't refuse the money and decided to accompany Maddock as best he could. So far, everything was fine, and there had been no significant problems, but that didn't last long. Maddock continued to ignore Ben's warnings and started shooting again. He proudly thought he had just shot a desert sheep, but as it turned out, he had shot an old man named Charlie. Charlie was a local wanderer who hunted for unusual items every day. He was also a close friend of Ben, which made the incident even more shocking. It was clear that Maddock was just as shocked as Ben, having taken Charlie's life in an instant. He couldn't do much other than wait for Ben, who rushed to find help. However, instead of waiting for help, Maddock shot Charlie's body again, this time using Ben's rifle. When Ben returned without assistance, Maddock told him that two shooters, both Ben and himself, were now involved in Charlie's death. Ben realized he was trapped. Maddock then offered a win-win solution. He would send Ben to university and pay him $300,000 per year living allowance until he graduated. To be honest, I thought Ben would flatly refuse this offer, but he agreed instead. Charlie's body was then hastily buried under a pile of rocks, and the two men got ready to continue their hunting activities as if nothing had happened. However, Ben didn't truly agree to the deal. He tried to make an emergency call, but Maddock found out and destroyed the communication device. From that moment on, Ben had to follow all of Maddock's orders. This included stripping off his shirt, pants, shoes, and all of his equipment, forcing him to walk home without food or water. Logically, under the scorching sun with no protection, it was clear Ben wouldn't last long and would die of dehydration. Maddock saw this and realized he didn't need to kill Ben outright, as nature would do it for him. As time passed, Ben followed the electricity poles that lined the area, but he realized this journey would be pointless, so he changed direction. It's unclear where Ben intended to go, but he seemed to know what to do next. He went to an excavation site in the middle of the desert and walked into a gap covered by rocks. This hole led to Charlie's old hideaway. In this base, Ben found several useful items and a map Charlie had drawn. Unfortunately, Maddock realized Ben's location and made his way to the hidden cabin. Without delay, Maddock entered the cabin, hearing noises inside. Ben's location was no longer safe, and Maddock deliberately threw dynamite at him. As a result, Ben had no choice but to leave the cabin. With great pleasure, Maddock immediately greeted him at that very moment. This time, Ben is forced to stay on the home's path and not get out of Maddock's sight. But still, Ben tried to avoid him as much as possible. Even though his physical condition was badly injured, Ben even deliberately went back to one of the rocks where he used to chill with Charlie, relying on the existing sofas. He immediately bandaged the soles of his feet to prevent them from becoming worse and peeling off. After his legs were bandaged, he continued to run to avoid being chased by Maddock. Ben quickly began to follow the directions from the map drawn by Charlie. Luckily, Ben's efforts were not in vain because all this time Charlie had deliberately kept a catapult, several marbles, and a map that led to the dig point of one jerry can of water. But just as Ben was about to drink a little, the jerry can was deliberately shot by Maddock. This time, Ben could only surrender while being watched by Maddock, who was actually enjoying the suffering of others. Under such pressure, it was clear that Ben could no longer continue his journey, and he simply collapsed. To make sure Ben was really dead, Maddock purposely fired several bullets at him. When Ben didn't wake up, Maddock immediately left the location. However, the situation was just a trick because Maddock still saw Ben walking around. From there, Maddock began to get angry at Ben's deception and no longer wanted to let Ben escape alive. However, it wasn't easy because Ben knew every in and out of the area. Ben went back into a hole and purposefully waited until night fell. Without feeling tired at all, Maddock continued waiting for Ben, who was hiding in the rocks. He kept calling for Ben, hoping he would surrender. But Ben wasn't that stupid, as he managed to get out through another gap without being noticed by Maddock. Furthermore, Ben dared to approach Maddock's car and took the opportunity to put on a jacket. At that point, Maddock, who had just finished peeing, immediately realized something odd had happened to his car. Starting from the passenger door, not being closed tightly to the jacket that was no longer there. Relying on his instincts, Maddock realized something was off, and Ben was shocked when the car suddenly reversed. Caught in this situation, Ben had no other option but to hide in the rocks. He also had to avoid the dynamite explosions that Maddock threw at him repeatedly. Luckily, with his quick reflexes, Ben managed to get through it all and even knocked out Maddock with just one slingshot. In the morning, Ben successfully tied up Maddock in the car. Wasting no time, Ben went straight to the sheriff's office to report Maddock's irresponsible behavior. It didn't stop there. Ben also revealed that Maddock had offered him money after shooting Charlie to death. The evidence made sure Maddock would go to jail soon, while Ben was free to resume his normal activities. Unfortunately, Maddock, who initially said he needed to go to the toilet for a while, had secretly called someone to pick him up by helicopter. He had made the call as soon as he arrived at the office, and no one noticed. In secret, he had already ordered his men using a smartwatch. A few days after the incident, Ben purposely followed his girlfriend, who was already living downtown. He no longer wanted to work as a guide due to the trauma of the previous incident. Unexpectedly, Ben dreamed that Maddock would follow him to the house, but it turned out Maddock had really arrived without them knowing. Fortunately, Maddock's plan failed because Lena was already on standby with the gun she always carried when she slept. From there, Maddock couldn't do anything, and he died after being shot 3 times by Ben. And the film ends. To be honest, this film was able to make me feel tense, despite not having many actors in each scene. For some reason, the environment created made us feel like we were in Ben's position. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.